Hi, all. We want to welcome you today to our digital lunch and learn hosted by Missouri S&T Global Learning. My name is Sylvia Scobie, and I am a member of our Global Learning team. We're very excited today to have Dr. Bob Berry with us, who is one of our adjunct professors. He teaches courses at Missouri S&T, graduate courses in project management, advanced corporate finance, and business negotiations. So we're super excited to hear from him today. He's going to share some tips about project management and how it matters in all aspects of your job, and then share with you some upcoming short courses that we have. So we're so glad that you chose to spend your lunchtime with us, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Bob Berry.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. I'm really pleased everybody was able to join us today. I'm excited for you and congratulate you on your interest in continuing your education, especially in your professional development. My name is Bob Berry, as Sylvia said. I'm a graduate of Missouri S&T, although they call it something else in those days. And I've been fortunate enough to have been teaching a graduate course called Project Management for both the systems engineering and the engineering management department now for about the last 10 years. And we put together a short course that we're going to be presenting in January, a 12-hour course, and I'll get into the details of that in just a minute. I spent, let me go in here and share my screen a little bit. Thank you. Okay, here we go. um, I have a lot of experience. I spent 32 years with a consulting engineering firm headquartered in Kansas City. And then I spent the last 18 years of that running the St. Louis regional operations of Burns McDonnell. I also have experience in project management in the Army while I was in the Army. And the last 18 years, I managed project managers, if you will, and I helped them manage courses in design studies and in construction management. So I have a lot of experience. Like I said, I've been teaching project management for a number of years at Rolla. We put together a course, and it's a 12-hour course, and hopefully it will help you. Many of you probably have experience in project management or want to get experience in project management. And this will help give you some ideas of what skills you need to enhance on your career path to project management. And so I can't make you an expert in project management in 12 hours or even in a semester course, but we can give you some thoughts, and that's what we're going to try to do in the course. We'll be teaching the course only online through Zoom in January. And, we don't know after that exactly where we're going to be going with the course, depending on the COVID situation. It's going to be presented in three segments, in 3 4-hour segments. That's going to be held on January 15th, 22nd, and 29th on 3 different segments. We're going to start at 10 a.m. and have a 4-hour block each day and end at 2. And that way, hopefully you can still go to work in the morning and finish work in the day and have lunch during the course and minimize your time away from work. That's why we're doing it that way. Each session will be recorded and it'll be archived. And so if you do happen to miss a session, you'll be able to go back and watch it. But we prefer you join us live, of course, on those 3 days. One of the situations with the course is that we hope each student will select a project that they will be able to use during the 12-hour course. So this is a project that maybe you're doing at work right now, or you recently finished, or you see somebody else doing at work, or maybe it's just a fictitious project. Really doesn't matter. It's your choice. So we want you to pick a project and then using the details of that project all through the 12-hour course, when we establish and develop a work breakdown structure, a network diagram, a Gantt chart, all the other tools that project managers use, we want you to do that with the project that you've selected. So if you do want to sign up for the course that starts on January 15th, be thinking already about what project you might want to use during the course. Again, we prefer, since this is an engineering management curriculum, we welcome people who are not engineers or not in the construction business, of course, but it's going to be more or less focused on the engineering side or the construction side of the industry. So some examples there, it needs to be small enough that you can wrap your arms around it, but not so small that it is not going to be any kind of a problem for you. So we're going to use what you're doing to, in the course, use your projects to develop all these different tools. So as I said, we're going to be doing this over three different days. Starting January 15th, you'll see the schedule up on the screen. We're going to start off with a little bit of discussion about different delivery methods, organizations, and how organizations affect project management. And then we're going to get into project definition. We're going to work on developing a scope of work for your project. And then from that, a work breakdown structure, which is really the building block or the foundation for the other project management and project planning tools that we're going to use in the course. And then at the close of that first 4-hour session, we'll be doing establishing time and cost estimating for your project and how we go about doing that kind of thing and how you get better at it as time goes on. There might be a little homework, which is optional, of course, But then you come back on January 22nd, and we're going to use the tools we developed in the first session to start our project planning phase. And in that, we'll be doing a network analyses, and then from that, development of work packages from your scope of work and your work breakdown structure. And then we're going to have a little session on Microsoft Project. So one of the things we'd like for you to do if you are going to be enrolled in the course is to obtain either Microsoft Project or some other project planning software that you can use during the course. If you don't have access to Microsoft Project or some other project planning software, then we'll explain to you in session 1 exactly how to get that, some different ideas that you can use. And again, it's optional, but we certainly will be focused on using software to do planning for your project. And so we'll have a little exercise during that second session, a little workshop on Microsoft Project for those of you who have not used it before, to get you familiar with it. And then for those of you who have used it, maybe you'll learn a few tricks that will help you both in your work as well as in the course. And then we'll get into outsourcing and subcontracting, a very big part of project management. What work are you going to give away to other people? What are you going to subcontract? How are you going to schedule all that work? And finally, then, once you have your outsourcing plan in place, what sort of resources are we going to need in-house? And then you do a resource loading for your project. Once it's loaded, then we level it. And we get into all that during session 2, and where we try to optimize the cost and the schedule to make you the best project that you can. And again, you're going to be using the project of your choice to do that. Then in our third and last session on January 29th, we're going to be looking at how you measure where you are in a project. Are you ahead of schedule? Are you ahead or behind budget? And then once you figure that out, what are we going to do about it? Which is probably the most important thing. We're also going to be looking at risk and profit and how they go hand in hand. Making a profit, of course, is extremely important in any project management role, and minimizing risk and mitigating the risk is also going to be pretty important. Then we get into contracts and contract types. As a project manager, you're going to be dealing with contracts and subcontracts and ordering supplies and purchasing contracts all the time. And so we're going to be spending a little bit of time talking about how we do that, the different contract types, and then contract negotiations as well. And by the way, there's another course in February, a different short course where we're going to be doing contract negotiations, an 8-hour course that you can also sign up for. We're going to be talking about leadership, why that's important, and management styles, and of course, how ethics fits into that whole scheme. And then toward the end of the third session, we'll be getting into dispute resolution, something that hopefully you'll never get involved with, but you might. And if you're a project manager, I'd say your chances are extremely good that you will. And then finally, project closure. What do we need to do at the very end of the job to close it out and get ready for the next one? So that's kind of an overview of the project. That's what I wanted to do today. And Sylvia, is there something else I should add, or did that about cover it? I'd like to open it up now for questions. If anybody I see we have quite a few folks tuned in. If you have any questions, holler away and I'll see if I can answer them.
Bob, wondering if you could just, kind of sitting here with your years of experience, kind of share with our attendees any lessons learned that you've had over the years. What are some of the project management lessons that you have learned, or maybe have been hard lessons that you've learned?
Well, I usually try to save all my best secrets for the actual people who pay to attend the course. I'm just kidding, of course. One of the first things I do when I teach my semester courses is we have at the very first class, we talk about what is project management and what's important and what are the skill sets needed to be a good project manager. And above all else, I think the most important skill is communication. And, a lot of us, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience today are engineers or in the engineering profession or in the construction profession. And we're not very good communicators in general. We just want to sit in our cubes and calculate stuff and be left alone, right? At least that's the stereotypical engineer. And I think that is probably true from a lot of us. But the most important part about being a good project manager is communicating to your project team, communicating to your other stakeholders on your project, communicating to your bosses, to communicating to your subcontractors all the time, every day, clearly and succinctly. And that's something we all need to work on. And hopefully you all are working on that as well in your off hours. So that's probably the one of the most important things. And we also remember, of course, that project managers, when you become a project manager, you're probably going to get a big bump in salary. And good project managers become even more valuable in the workplace, both where you are and if you're looking at moving on somewhere else as well. So I think uh, honing your skills as a project manager, getting experience as a project manager is one of the best career moves you can make, and certainly encourage you all to do that.
One
That was that,
question that
Sylvia.
I have is, we have a lot of younger students that are just getting out and they're probably thinking, oh no, more school. So I would like you to just kind of speak to maybe getting this experience earlier in their career instead of later in their career, and how that can really bridge the gap between education and then, professional skill set, and what that's going to do for them.
Sure. Well, we all know, I think, that you want to prepare for the job you want, not for the job you've got, right? So as we look ahead in our careers, what is up there that I need to get better at? What do I need to do to someday become a project manager if you're not one already? And so this course, I think, is a starting point for that. Let's figure out what kind of skills we need and start working on those right now. And so you'll be recognized later when the time comes in your organization and they need a new project manager or somebody to manage a new project. They'll see that you have those skills and point to you and bring you on board and make you a project manager for the first time. That's an exciting day. And I always had the pleasure of doing that when I asked somebody to be the project manager for the first time in their career. And most of the time it worked out, and didn't always, but um, hopefully that's something that you can do. Now, as I said earlier, this course, 12-hour course, is not going to make you an expert in project management. And indeed, a full semester course is not going to make you an expert in project management. That takes a lot of work and a lot of practice and a lot of experience. But again, we can get you on the road. We can tell you some of the tools that you're going to need, some of the skills that you're going to need, and get you start enhancing those skills in your career.
That's great. I love hearing that. I love preparing for the job you want, not the one you have. And along that same line, I really think that these courses are integral in helping you know how to be a good project team member so that you can contribute even more. And I think once you have that professionalism about on a team, then that would move so much more quickly into a project team management role. So I don't think it's just for people who are at the manager level, but I think this can take you through a couple of different steps and kind of springboard you maybe from student to project manager even quicker by being a really good, project team member.
Absolutely. Good point. Excellent point. And it will indeed.
We had a question. Does professional experience in design make one a better project manager?
It certainly makes you a better project manager in the design field. Absolutely, of course. So some people want to stay designers and want to stay in the design arena and don't really want to go up in the world. Okay, that's fine. The world needs a lot of good designers, and the more experience you have, the better off you're going to be. But for those who want to try their hand at project management, I think this course, as well as some of the other courses we're offering at Missouri S&T, will help you hone those skills.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this really isn't strictly for engineers. This is for anybody.
Absolutely.
This is a skill set for a professional, not just for engineers.
Absolutely true. In my courses right now, I have a lot of students who are not graduate engineers, not working in the engineering profession. They're in software development. They're maybe in marketing, because marketing people have projects as well. And you can use the same skills that we teach in this course to non-engineers in the non-engineering profession. In fact, I'll have to say that some of the students I have right now in my course, I'm just finishing up 2 courses this semester. I have non-engineers in both of those courses, and they're doing extremely well. And I think we're giving them a set of tools that they're going to be able to use in the profession that they are in. Certainly.
Would you say the good mixture between the two, non-engineering and engineering, kind of helps one see the other side and vice versa?
Sure. Because we are now in a online situation only, there's not as much interaction between the students as there would be if there was a classroom. So I think the answer to your question is yes. However, because of COVID, there isn't that amount of integration that I think we'd like to see. And so some of the folks that are in the class that are not engineers and not in the engineering profession aren't they're not getting exposed to the other members of the class as much as we'd like, and as much as we would in a classroom setting.
Bob, Microsoft Project scares me. I'm not, and not me personally, but I'm just thinking of other people that, they see Microsoft Project, they see, oh my gosh, you want me to come up with information. What is the necessity of having a project outlined with information and dates and people to hold accountability?
Project managers, and sometimes their assistants, depending on how big the project is, use Microsoft Project or some other project planning software, there's quite a few of them out there. I think the most common and the most used is Microsoft Project. That's why we use it in the course. But there's a lot of planning that goes into project management. There is scheduling of all the different work packages. It's very complex. For a more complex project, especially a construction project, can be very, very complex and very difficult. And so we use project planning software because it's so hard to do manually. Back in the old days, in the 60s, 50s, whatever, I'm not sure how they do use the tools that we learn with computers today, but you almost have to do that. And in order to come up with a cost estimate, a schedule, and resource loading on who's going to do what on your project and when, are some of your folks overloaded or underutilized? All those things come out in Microsoft Project or some other planning software. It's not required for this short course. It is required in my semester course. And in the first session of the short course on January 15th, I'll be getting into detail about why it's important and how students can get access to a copy of Microsoft Project or some other planning software. A lot of folks have it at work. If you're in the engineering profession or in the working for industry that does a lot of projects, likely there are copies of Microsoft Project or some other planning software already available to you at work. And we're hoping that you will be able to obtain a copy of that, get it on your machine, and use it. Otherwise, we're going to be trying to get you the information that you're going to need to download the software itself, whether you buy it or sign up for a free trial or borrow it or however you get it. So it's not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace and learn how to use. it takes time like everything else and takes experience. But we're going to try to give you some of that experience in the short course and get you started. If you haven't used it yet, get you started. And so that's the main thing, being able to get started and be able to tell the folks in your employed, where you're employed, your boss or whoever, yeah, I'm using Microsoft Project and I'm using it in class. I think that's a good thing.
One thing that I really like about this course and project management in general are the things that you learn for your professional career easily transfer to civic and community, things that you're involved with. So it's not strictly for work, but this will help you manage, fundraisers and teams maybe at your work that you volunteer for or that you're assigned to. So this has great carryover, I would say, even into your personal life, not just your professional life. But this is a skill set that can be used anywhere you need organization and you need that management in how to run a team of people.
Absolutely. In fact, in my semester course, we do the same thing. We have students select a project, one that they worked on, or one that is going on in their office, or just one that they see, a fictional project, whatever. And there's always quite a few non-engineering or non-construction courses that are chosen by people who are not in the engineering profession. And it's very interesting to see how well those courses apply themselves to Microsoft Project and vice versa to help them plan and get organized in fulfillment of that project, whatever it may be. Yeah, absolutely.
Bob, I have another question for you, and just kind of interesting. It popped up as Michelle was talking about some of the changes and the challenges that we've seen. How have you seen things adjust and change throughout your career? You gave us your background where you started in the military and then you were in the private sector and worked, and then now you're an adjunct professor, and I can't imagine the spectrum of both communication and project management that you've gotten to experience, especially with the changes this year. How have you seen that change and evolve, and how have you adjusted to some of that?
Well, I thought this was only going to be a short thing. I didn't know I had 3 hours here today to go into that kind of detail. I'd be happy to do it, but I'm afraid I'd be losing some of the folks that are online. Certainly, when I started in my career, actually, a lot of project planning was not done because it was so complicated and so complex, and we didn't have the software that we have today. And that, of course, evolved over time. And as time progressed and as that software got not only better, but also more available to students and to professionals, then planning for projects became a lot better and projects went smoother. Projects got finished on schedule, under budget, which of course are 2 of the 4 important things that we have to do when we manage projects. The 4 things are minimizing risk, maximizing profit, assuming you're working for a private sector company, that profit's important. If you're in the public sector, certainly managing the project to meet the budget, doing it with quality, and also doing it on time and within the schedule. And that's what the Microsoft Project and this course is hopefully going to be able to help you do, is bring projects in with all 4 of those important tools in mind. Absolutely. And then there's actually a 5th one I talked about, another one of my courses, and that's safety. But we won't be getting into safety too much in this course, but maybe on another course later down the road.
Do you feel that this would be a good course to take, or to maybe send some of your newer employees or your younger employees to kind of get their feet wet, if you will, in project management?
I'd say that there's no age limit or age gap for project managers. If someone has a skill set but is very young and maybe right out of school, they could be a project manager if they understand what it's going to take. And likewise, you can have somebody that's up there, almost my age, who maybe doesn't have the skills. Just the age and experience doesn't help them if they can't enhance the skills that you need to run a project. So I don't think there's any age limit. Certainly, if you're younger and you want to start planning to become a project manager, you see that as something you want to become, this is a great first start to try to determine what those tools are and then what you need to work on. What tools maybe do you already have the skills, but what tools do you not have those skills, and start working on those. And I think that's going to be the real value out of this 12-hour short course that we're going to do in January.
Okay, we had one last question, and the question was, what is the skill set needed to make a good project manager?
Communication. In all my years, I've seen a lot of problems. When you're the boss, problems come to your desk. And so there are the engineering profession as well as many others. And the construction profession, and I'll separate those two, although they're certainly integrated, is very complex, very difficult, complicated profession to be in. The engineering and building a project is hard to do. And there's often problems that arise. And it seems like every single one of those problems were because of poor communication. It wasn't because of a lack of technical knowledge or a lack of experience. It was that somebody didn't communicate clearly or communicate at all. So I think that's number one, is to learn to communicate. You cannot over communicate in project management. Communicate clearly. What do you want directly? Make sure your people all understand what is expected of you. And those skills are something that I think all of us, just as people working, need to work on, right? And so I'd say that's number one. Was that you, Michelle, that asked that question?
I think that was Rebecca in our chat. And
Rebecca, okay.
With that, we will take that as our kind of final thought for the day, unless Bob, you have something else you want to share?
Well, I noticed on your screen, we talked about, there's a mention of a course in February we're doing on contract negotiations. That's coming up on February 15th. And there's a course in March that part of the communications that we want to work on as project managers is making presentations, because we make a lot of presentations in our professional career. So there's another 8-hour short course in March where we're going to help people learn to make a winning presentation. So anyway, those are a couple other things coming up this spring. Hopefully COVID will be behind us by then, but who knows, maybe it won't even be for another year, but hopefully they will be. And one of these days we'll have a classroom session as well.
Yes. So as Bob mentioned, I put those 3 courses up here, and we really appreciate, again, you joining us on your lunchtime here for about half an hour just to have a project management chat, to learn about some leadership and management courses that we have coming up in the new year. And you can go to that website to find out more information about them. Also, we have been hosting these lunch and learns and speaker series throughout the semester. And we have one more speaker series left. As I scroll through these slides real quick, I can give you that information. And this one will be talking about diversity and inclusion in the workplace. This will happen next Wednesday, December 9th. And we'd love to have you join us again. There's a website there at the bottom of that slide to find out more information and to get the Zoom information for that. We really appreciate you joining us today. And Bob, thank you very much. We enjoy hearing about project management and know that it is very important for any walks of life, wherever we may be and wherever our career might have us right now. So again, thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon and a great weekend.
Thanks.